Hello, hello. Ron Callis here with another episode of Automation Unplugged. I hope you're having a good afternoon. Today is Wednesday, June 23rd. It is just a little bit after 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And what I'm going to do now, as I always do, I'm going to jump over to Facebook, make sure we are properly streaming, make sure technology is behaving today, see if it's on its best behavior. We are also streaming live on LinkedIn now as well. So our friends on LinkedIn, we're just 2 or 3 shows into streaming on LinkedIn. And we're getting a lot of, actually quite a few folks, a different audience are checking us out on LinkedIn than on Facebook. And in many cases, that's a different audience than is actually consuming the audio podcast. So it's pretty cool to see that we're able to reach new folks here. Let me go ahead and refresh my Facebook, make sure that I see the stream coming in. And there it is. Okie dokie. I'm trying to think, is there anything exciting going on in One Firefly land? We are busy over here at One Firefly. I was gonna say we're busy bees, but I guess we're busy fireflies. And life is good, but at the same time, many of us, including myself, are gearing up for a version of a summer vacation. So I'm going to be taking a little time wrapped around the July 4th holiday and enjoying my family. And I hope you out there listening, I hope you guys are doing the same. And as we get going, drop into the comments maybe. I'll try to do a reminder once we get going. Drop into the comments. Tell us if you have a summer vacation planned. That's always fun to hear what people have planned. I know for me, I'm going to be going over to the west coast of Florida to a nice resort and having a little bit of beach time, which is going to be very nice. All right. Today we are here for show 175. And we are featuring Jaclyn Boutwell, owner and CFO of Media Systems. And for those of you that are regular listeners or viewers of the show, you'll know that we had Jaclyn's husband on actually a few shows ago. I want to say it was show 172. And his name was Donnie. So that was a well-received interview. We've had thousands of views on the video, and I reached out and I said, well, everyone knows Jaclyn. Maybe they know Jaclyn more than they know Donnie. So let's have Jaclyn on the show. And we were able to clear schedules and make that happen. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring in Jaclyn, and we'll get the interview started. Jaclyn, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
I am good. Thank you. So how do you feel coming on after Donnie came on a few weeks ago?
Well, it's funny. We usually do this together, so it might be a little strange being without each other. We kind of bounce off of each other with ideas and stuff, but we'll be fine.
I've done a few tandem interviews where I've had a couple of guests on at the same time. And that is fun. And I've done a couple of husband and wife teams. But, we're also trying, I like to mix it up over here at Automation Unplugged. So we're interviewing you guys differently. And I'm pretty confident we're going to explore some different areas of discussion that we probably would have otherwise. So
well, we both do different things with the company and, just stuff in life. So it might be entertaining.
I think it'll be fun. So first of all, Jaclyn, tell us about your role within the company. And then again, for those listening that don't know Media Systems, maybe give us a quick snapshot of the company.
Sure. Well, I handle mostly just all the money. There's a lot coming in and going out and lots of people to manage. So kind of overseeing who's doing what. Donnie and I work together to do the sales, which is actually really helpful as a woman to go to a technical sales call because you get somewhere and 9 times out of 10, the wife is like, I hate this stuff. And I'm like, I got you, girl. Don't worry. Like, make her feel confident and comfortable with that.
Sure.
And then managing the, marketing and social media side of everything too.
Wow. So you have your hands full, and tell us about Media Systems. Just where do you guys operate? What type of projects do you guys do?
Sure, yeah. We're an AV company in Houston, Texas, and Donnie's uncle had started our company in 1980. And Donnie's been working there for 12 years. I've been there for 8 years. So we've been running it together for the last 6 years. But we do luxury home automation, basically. So we have a pretty small bubble that we work in. We like to work in about 15-minute radius from our office. But sometimes we'll leave the bubble, especially if it's like a second or third home for somebody.
Got it. Yeah, and what I'm going to ask my team to do is to drop the link down into the chat on the various platforms, and we'll put this in the show notes as well. And that'll be the link to Donnie, because Donnie goes through quite a bit of the background and the history of the company. But I love, Jaclyn, for our audience to learn, like, how did you land here? What's your origin story? How did you end up in this industry here in the present? Tell us where did it all begin?
Well, funny story about that. When we first moved, we lived in Nashville before we got married, had 2 of our kids in Nashville, moved to Houston and had our 3rd daughter. And Donnie was working for his uncle. And at some point it was like, maybe I should just go like help out or something. And then both of us were like, nah, that'd be weird if we worked together and all this stuff. And especially working for his uncle, like that would just be strange. And then the girl who was working in the office put in her 2 weeks notice. She was just, going back to school. And his uncle was like, why don't you just come work for a little bit? That way somebody in the family knows the books. And if anything ever happens down the road, at least somebody can, take care of stuff. Like, okay, sure. So our youngest was 2. And I would bring her up to the office with me. She'd go watch a movie in the theater right across from my desk. And about a week into it, Steve, his uncle, was like, this isn't a bad idea. Maybe one day you guys can run this like a mom and pop shop. Like, maybe so. And then it just kind of, became what it is. And I'm really glad that I did it. I think it was a really good call. But yeah.
Now, I know this because you and I have known you for a while, and we were also chatting in advance. You studied in school photography.
I did.
You did not do a business or a finance major. Maybe you did, so correct me. But I know you studied photography.
I didn't do a business major, but I just was always good at math. Even though I think I didn't want to be. Nobody really wants to be good at that. But
sure.
But in high school, I was working for a radio station, so I loved taking pictures of the bands that played. I wasn't very good, but I took some classes then. And then in college, I went to a community college in Nashville, paid my way, working as a nanny, paid my way through school to learn photography. So back in Nashville, I did lots of bands and models, that's what we were around. All of our friends were into some form of art, and they just needed help looking better and promoting their stuff. And I did some fashion shows and worked for like a local arts magazine. And then when we moved to Houston, Donnie's mom, she sells houses and was like, please take pictures of these houses. And I was like, okay. Like, it just didn't sound that fun.
It sounded boring, I guess.
It did. Yeah. And then Donnie went and bought me like the right kind of lens. And I just kind of got started with that. And actually, I found a job through Craigslist, which who does that anymore? I don't know if that's a thing, but it was.
I don't know if Craigslist is even around. I haven't been on Craigslist in ages.
I have no idea. And I wasn't even on it much then, but I just happened to see, I was just trying to find some like side things because my kids were little and just wanted something to, just to make some money on the side. And there was this company out of Chicago who has like a nationwide photography company for real estate. And so they called, I applied for the job, and out of like 100 people that applied in Houston, I got the job. They flew me to Chicago, gave me like a weekend full of training of like how to shoot the perfect pictures of architecture. And then at the end, they were like, we're going to pay you $25 a house. And I was like, no. Like Houston is huge. That's not gonna work. It cost
20
me
that were that
$25
this
to
was a
get to the
joke?
house. No.
$25 a house?
And I was like, you probably shouldn't have trained me first and then told me that. So I backed out of it. And a week later, they called me back and they like quadrupled the pay. And they were like, we'll only give you the big jobs. And but basically, all I had to do was shoot the house, and they took care of all of the editing. But because I had already learned all of that, I just kind of worked on it on my own and was like figuring things out and took some like online classes to, I think the best thing you can ever do with your life is to find a professional who's already doing what you want to do and learn how they do that thing. And then you put your own spin on it. So I had already had my clientele through Donnie's mom's company. And it's a big builder in town, like like they buy up a whole neighborhood and build all the houses. So I was doing all of their houses, all of their model homes. I think I ended up having like, gosh, I don't remember how many, 700 or 800 houses for the year. I mean, it was a big deal with that company. And then this other company was paying me just to do their pictures while they did the editing. So it ended up blowing up, and I was able to work just 2 or 3 days a week while my kids were in preschool, which was pretty awesome.
All right. So if you'll allow me, I have so many questions about photography, and
Okay.
we'll get to the media systems stuff as well.
Well, it's all intertwined.
It's all intertwined.
Yeah.
Photography. Yeah. Maybe I'll start here. What makes for a good architectural photograph?
It's every part of the picture matters. So your lighting has to be right. The best way to show a whole room is to show 3 walls. A lot of people go in and take a picture like in the corner, and you just see these 2 walls with the corner in the middle of it. But if you would turn and get 3 walls in your picture, it makes it look a lot bigger. You see more of the space, and you kind of get an idea of like what the layout is of that room.
Are you, in order to shoot a project, I mean, our clients, right? Our industry, we're in beautiful projects. Yeah. And I feel like I'm beating a drum when I stand on stage or do a webinar and I talk about photography and videography. Yeah. And I want to get into some of the challenges around actually getting agreement from clients to get that. But maybe we'll keep it, first of all, to just the mechanics of a good image. Yeah. Do you bring lighting to jobs? I mean, are you bringing your own gear or just a camera and a tripod?
It's a camera, a tripod, and a flash. So not the on-camera flash, because those are horrible. It's an external flash with a diffuser on it. But the reason I do the tripod is because I don't have to bring a big like softbox type light if I have a tripod, because I can do different exposures. HDR, which is now like a hot word for TVs and all these things. I don't believe that is what HDR was or really should be, but basically I can take 5 exposures of the same room from really dark to really bright and mesh them together to make it one perfect photo. So you know how when you take a picture in a room, especially if it's of a person or something, and there's a window, and the window is really blown out and white, and you can see the white kind of seeping into the rest of the room, and the person may be dark if there's not enough light on them. If you have a flash on them, they'll be brighter, but you still may have some of that like whiteness coming from the window where it just looks kind of like it's glowing on the edges. You just don't want to have that. So if you take a really dark exposure of the room and you get a perfect picture outside the windows, especially if you're at like a beach house or there's a pretty yard, if you can, or their pool out back, if you take a dark exposure in the room, you get a beautiful picture through the windows. And then you keep going up until it's totally bright in the room, and you get, the details beside the couch and whatever else might be, art on the wall and whatever. So then you can mesh those pictures together. And there are like automatic ways to do that. I wouldn't do that just because I know how to do it better myself.
What software do you use to do it, out of curiosity?
I start in Lightroom and I finish in Photoshop.
All right. So it's fair to say the average listener here is not going to maybe be doing that level of fancy
No, but
treatment on the image.
if you're at least bringing some light into the room and you're getting 3 walls to show the right angle, that's a good start. Maybe take some online classes to get there and learn some techniques. But I mean, geez, the new iPhones, they're pretty good. Like you can.
Well, I was going to go there. I was going to say, is an iPhone good enough?
I use an iPhone for a lot of just random stuff throughout the day. If it's our guys hanging a TV or some products or whatever, I use my iPhone. But if I'm going to go like shoot a house that we just finished and the designer has come in and like it's a really big deal, I'm going to use my equipment. So maybe that's the balance there, is all your everyday stuff. Use your phone and think about where the light is coming from when you take it. Use the window as your light. Turn your back towards the window and shoot the rest of the room. But if it's a big deal, something for marketing on your website or whatever, maybe you just need to hire somebody who can do that for you.
All right, so let's talk cost generally, or maybe broadly with a spread. If someone is hiring a photographer someone listening here is hiring a photographer, and we'll keep it to say the United States.
Yeah.
We do have listeners around the world, so I don't know what rates are in other countries. But if someone is here in the United States and they're going to hire a photographer to shoot a project, what should they be budgeting to spend probably?
It probably depends on how big the house is and or how many pictures you want. But I'd say probably a $300 or $400 range to get, 10 to 20 pictures that are pretty good.
Okay.
But that's just from what I know from when I was doing it, several years ago.
That's Texas, Houston type rates.
Houston
I'm going to round it. You said 300 to 400, maybe 300 to 500 would be normal.
Yes. And I tell realtors this all the time, like you have to spend the money because people buy the house because of the pictures. So if people are buying houses because of what the picture looks like, think about what it does for your business as anybody, an AV company, a designer, architect, builder. Like you have to have the pictures because people are attracted to things that are beautiful. So if you put up a beautiful home, that shows the kind of house that you work in, the type of work that you do. And as an AV company, most of the things we do are hidden. They're all in a closet. Nobody sees the stuff we do. It's in the walls and it's in a closet, but we show a beautiful room with a TV on the wall. We know that there's hundreds of thousands of dollars in the rest of the house to get that TV to not have stuff underneath of it and to make everything look pretty and have one remote to control everything, or voice control or lighting control or whatever it is. So we get some close-ups of the products, but then for the whole room, you really don't see a lot of what we actually do.
The pushback that my team and I get the most often is that, Ron, our clients are particularly special, particularly private, particularly unwilling to cooperate and allow us to shoot their homes.
Yeah, we get that too.
I think some of that is real and some of that is an excuse to not even try. But
yes.
how do you guys handle it? How do you manage to get approval? Do you always get approvals, or is it some of the time? And maybe what are the techniques you guys practice?
I mean, if we're doing like a pre-wire and you can't tell what it is, you just see lots of wires and stuff, we're not going to go ask for approval for that. But every contract that we have with somebody, one of the terms in our agreement says we're going to take photos of your house and you can't expect any money from us, or it just kind of says what we'll do with it, that it might go in a magazine or for a contest, like CEDIA has contests and that kind of stuff. So it kind of explains what we're using it for and just says you're allowing us to take photos of your home, but also we're not going to tell anybody who you are or where you live. But even though that's in the terms and that's a sneaky way to do it, we don't just do that. We go to the client and say, is it okay if we take photos of your home? And we explain everything. We'll bring magazines that we've been in before and say, see, this is what we've done before. We just want to show a pretty room, show what we've done. And most people, I'd say probably 8 times out of 10, they're like, yeah, of course, do whatever you want. Some people are just like, you can't have any pictures of my house. And that's okay. They may have signed the contract that says that we can, but if they say no, then we're just not going to do it.
I'm getting, my wife and I hired some contractors to do some stuff in our backyard. And one of the contractors is going to in the fall, put in a pergola.
Yeah.
And I remember the salesperson, part of his sales process checklist was, Mr. and Mrs. Callis, we'd love to photograph the finished product. Is that okay? Do we have your permission to do that? And they did it right up front, right when we're all happy and all in a high of getting this feature added to our backyard.
Yeah.
And we were like, yes, of course, show it off. That's going to be wonderful. And
but doesn't that make you think that they're proud of their work too? Like,
absolutely.
He's coming in saying, this is going to be so awesome. I want to use this to show other people. So that should also give you confidence in them and hiring them. So that should be the same for our client base as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. In terms of the language that you added to your contract, your terms and conditions, did you draft that? You and Donnie do that, or did you hire your counsel to do that, or like how fancy did you get with that process?
We got fancy with it. We kind of wrote it the way we thought, and we have an attorney that has gone over all of our terms, which I would suggest that for any company, any contract you're doing. I don't care if it's $1,000 job, you need a contract, both signatures from both people. But that was just one of the many things that we put in there that we had her look over for us.
What percentage of the time does it get crossed out or negated?
Rarely.
Rarely. So most of the time it's accepted.
Yeah. We had in the last 3 or 4 months, we've had 2 people who said no, and one was a homeowner who's not, it's a wealthy guy, but not like famous in any way. And he just said, no, I don't want you to do that. And the second one was a builder on behalf of the homeowner. And he just said, I know you're not going to do anything with these pictures, but as their representative, I need to say, this just sounds weird, and we're going to say no. So I'll probably still, to the homeowner, say, can I take pictures of your house when we're finished? And she may say yes or no, but at least, I get it that the builder wanted to protect his client, even though he knows us and we've known him for a long time. So it happens.
He was more covering his butt by doing that.
Yeah, I think so.
So I want to comment on, of all the guests that I have on this show, you and Donnie, your lighting and your video and your audio are particularly fantastic.
Well, thanks.
And
we work hard on that.
So is that your photography skills, your inner professional carrying over to how you conducting yourself on video conferences? Or please tell our audience, how are you doing the magic that you guys are doing?
Well, we're both perfectionists to start. He went to school for audio engineering. He's done music his whole life. So the audio side, I have no idea. He was like, turn this on and turn that on, and okay. So I hit those buttons and made sure they were plugged in. So that's his side. The photography side, he also studied videography in college. So like he does the video side. We both know the lighting side. So between us, we've got so much gear, it's ridiculous. It fills up like a whole room. So but it's a little bit of both, for sure.
So give our audience some of the basics to come across solid and professional. And I'm going to say we live in a Zoom world. We're all Zooming all day long, every day. And I think we're perhaps trending as a society to maybe a little bit less of that because, we're hopefully on the other side of this pandemic. But tell us, what are the basics to delivering the goods on a Zoom?
Yeah. Well, first off, clearing all your clutter and stuff behind you. All mine is directly below me. You can't see any of it. I even posted a picture of that when Donnie was on last time, like all the junk that's all around. But this picture at least looks pretty, all the stuff behind. Then, framing it right, there's a rule of thirds. You want to keep your eyes up in that top third and be, somewhere in the between these two thirds. So wait, I'm mirror image there. There we go.
There you go.
And then the lighting is so crucial, and you don't have to have fancy lights at all. Just sit by a window and look, like have your camera or your computer, whatever, at the window facing into the rest of the room. So if you're using the light from your window, that is a giant softbox. That's exactly what photographers are trying to achieve, is what's coming in the window from the sun. People do car selfies all the time, and they always say, like, somebody will get their hair cut and be like, car selfie. It's because your light looks amazing in the car because you have the black on top of you, and all the light is coming in from the sides and all around the car. There's no direct harsh light on your face giving you lots of shadows. It's just a really pretty soft light. So use the window. It is key. And then it doesn't hurt to go get the $30 ring light on Amazon. Clip it onto your desk and use that little light. It works pretty well.
Is that what you're using?
No.
Okay. So what are you using?
I have the big softbox. It's probably 2.5 feet in diameter. And then I've got another little light behind me to have some backlight and something to shine on the wall.
All right.
And I have the window beside me too for a fill light.
So does this classify, and I've only recently learned this term, is this 3-point lighting?
There are definitely 3 lights. There's some word for it that I probably did in college 15 years ago that I don't remember. So
now, how did you? All right, so let's talk about the light. You said you have a light behind you. We can't see it, and it's doing something. What is it doing, and why is that something important?
It is. So if you have something shining on the wall behind you, you see it. You can almost see some like shadow on the wall. It separates you from your background. So it just makes it look a little more dynamic. There's the one big light, which is most of the light that you're seeing. That's the key light. Then the window on the side, I have blackout shades and drapes beside me. Most of it is closed. And because it's all motorized, I can just like lift part of it. So this window is open a little bit, and that's my fill light. So that just brings in a little bit of extra light on the side. And then the one over here is actually behind me, pointed towards the wall, just to give the wall that depth.
Now, you help others with this, don't you? This is not your first time explaining the basics or the fundamentals.
Yeah. So our church asked us to help with some teaching people how to do social media type stuff. And, I've taught some iPhone photography classes and just setting up your setting this kind of situation up so you can look good on camera.
Got it. Understood. And behind me is my dog, and she's snoring. So I'm not sure if that's coming across on the microphone, but she's got she's slumber going on back here.
I saw her spinning the chair earlier, but I don't hear her snoring.
Yeah, that's
but yours
funny.
Looks great. You've got the light on you. So you've got all that light behind you, but it's not shining on you. So it just makes it look a little more dynamic. It probably makes the room look bigger. Yours looks great.
No, I appreciate that. What camera are you using? Is this being accomplished? And I've already told the audience I've got a Sony camera. I upgraded it back in March. What is yours, a webcam or what? What's the camera?
No, this is the Sony, and I actually don't know which one. Donnie has 2 of them. I usually use Canon, so I have 2 Canon cameras and a Leica. But those are all for still. He does the video stuff, and it's a Sony A9 7 or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, in my research back in March, I found that the Sonys were I don't know. There's all this. I went to YouTube land and did my research, and it was giving the best live or unfiltered HDMI output.
Yeah.
Which running that through a Blackmagic, and I heard you say the word Blackmagic, so I'm thinking we're running it through the same converter.
Yes, yeah. So there's the Blackmagic, Atem, and then the Mackie for the. I guess I don't know what that does.
That's funny. Back to the photography side. What's the craziest when you were actually shooting, whether houses or people? What was one of the maybe the crazier gigs or the more memorable gigs that you've done?
If I tell you, will you not assume this is political?
I try to keep I have slipped slightly political on occasion, but it has not been in many months since maybe the heat of the election. So yeah.
Okay.
And I think my audience doesn't want us to get very political.
Good.
But yeah,
well,
what do you
I'll
got?
start by saying this is not saying anything on anybody politically. That being said, we have a client who likes to host lots of political events. She built a like a ballroom in the front of her house, and right after the build, about 10 or 12 years ago, I don't remember, Donnie was working on the house, and she said, Donnie, Ted Cruz is running for Senate, and I want you to be here and make sure everything works. And he was like, okay, cool. Can my wife come? She was like, whatever. So Donnie went to go make sure stuff was working, and I went behind my camera because if I'm going to be there by myself while he's working, that's,
That's like your shield.
Yes. Yeah. I'm like, I got something to do. I don't have to make awkward conversation. So I did this event with Ted Cruz, who I knew kind of who he was at the time, but he wasn't, who he is now. Well, that led to several other events for him where I did the first fundraising event right after he announced that he was running for president, which I thought was a huge deal. And it is. And but because I have done a handful of events for him, several years ago when President Trump was in town, it was this big event at the Toyota Center, which is where the Houston Rockets play. So it's a big venue. And Cruz's people called and they're like, this was a Friday night at 9 p.m., mind you. And they were like, on Monday, can you do a private event for the president? I'm like, yeah, I sure can.
I think I can clear my schedule.
Yeah. So dealt with all the details, and I had to be there at like 7 o'clock in the morning, even though the event wasn't until, I don't know, 5 or 6 that night. And
did you have to get checked by Secret Service and all that jazz?
Yep. I had to, give all my credentials, and they had to do this background check. I got a special pin that let me, because you have to have this particular pin on to be in certain parts of the building. So I was allowed to go
or something like that.
No, it was just a little, like, it was letting the security know that I was cleared to be in this part, and I didn't have to have somebody walk me in. So I could walk in any part of the building until the president got there. And then after that, there was just one section I couldn't go without being escorted. But I basically got to spend about 30 minutes in a room with Trump, with Ted Cruz, with our governor. There was another senator. I mean, it was like a handful of dignitaries and me. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do this. But the cool thing was the White House photographer was there and the campaign photographer. And just because of the way all the legalistic stuff works, they couldn't do this, get paid like through the Republican National Committee because they are getting paid through the government. So you can't mix like any kind of political party. So I was the third party person. So I have these two people behind me who like do this stuff all day long for the president. And then there's me like trying to get it all done. So it was pretty cool.
Do you, curiosity, do you still go out and book photography gigs, or is that just kind of a random thing? It still happens, but you don't go out and chase that or pursue that.
That's what it is. It's a random thing. So if somebody's going to call and say the president is town, whatever president it is, I'm going to be there. That's a pretty cool situation.
I don't know anybody that's listening that leans one way or the other politically that if the president or a senator asked you to come and provide services, I mean, who's going to say no to that? That's amazing.
One of the Ted Cruz events actually had 6 senators there. So that was pretty cool. They were from all over. So it's been interesting to get to meet those kind of people and just see who they are, like in a small group. It's very different than who they might be on stage. Trump was actually really soft-spoken And I was like having to lean in to hear him talk. And what's crazy about that is you can't be like, hey, can you move over? Like that's not how you talk to the president of the United States. So it's like, would you like to move to the center of the photo? Like, and kind of guiding him, to where the middle was. It was really interesting.
That were you proud of the photographs that you created in that effort?
Oh yeah. And considering I had no information walking into it, they just said, can you bring a setup? Like a setup. Okay, sure. Who's coming? How many people per picture? Is it just one person with him? Is it 20 people? Like I just had no information. They didn't know either. So I had a rolling cart full of 200 pounds of equipment, my camera, my tripod. I had 2 lights. I used the big softbox light, which is actually about 6 feet in diameter. It's huge. Because if it's a big group, I didn't want it to be this tiny light that didn't light everybody up. And I just didn't know what I would get into.
Did you set all that gear up for the shoot?
The lights and everything, yeah.
Yeah.
But they had a backdrop, and actually when I first got there were these 2 flags that were just kind of like, I mean, it was an American flag, but it was just looked kind of cheap. But I didn't really think anything of it until when I came back in the room later. Like everybody has to leave the building for a couple hours for a sweep. So I just went across the street and ate lunch, and I came back, and apparently it's a really big ceremonious type thing where they get the flag out, they've got gloves on, and it's this really like beautiful event that happens. So I didn't even get to see, but it's like the flag that travels with him, that goes to all of these events for stuff like this.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I'll have to show you the picture. I have a picture of the original flags that were there, and then like the real flags.
You know what, Jaclyn, we need some of those photos, because we're going to put some of that content. We'll do a gallery on the show page on our website for Automation Unplugged. So for show 175, because the audience will have heard us talk about this, so we'll put a gallery on the site. Yeah,
I can do that.
That'll be fun. All right.
I even have a picture standing in front of his car, like the presidential car. And I was barefoot because I had blisters on my feet after standing in heels for 12 hours.
Whatever images you're willing to supply us with, we'll put it up there so our audience can tune into that. I'm mindful of time, and I see that I've touched on one of the 6 topics that I wanted us to get to. So I'm going to switch gears here. And within Media Systems, you act as the CFO.
That's right.
Talk to me about how you manage the finances or the money for your business. How do you think about that? And maybe we'll start there.
Yeah. I think it's really important that the company is its own entity, and it's not my money or Donnie's money or anybody's money. It is Media Systems money. And we pay ourselves a weekly paycheck. And so it's a totally separate thing. We don't buy any equipment or spend money on a particular job until we have a signed contract and a deposit. And we make sure that our deposit schedule makes sense. You don't want them to give you so much money up front that you end up having to pay in on sales tax. You also don't want to have them give you 50% and then you do the whole job and then they never pay you the other 50%. So it's really important to make sure that you have a very particular schedule on when you're getting paid. So ours is typically like an 80-20, unless it's like a really long-term thing. We may get a 5% up front just to kind of hold the job, but we won't get money until we're ready to order parts, which in the current climate is like 12 weeks before install, because it takes forever to get anything right now.
So when you say 80-20, expound on that for me. So you want to have 80% prior to what?
Prior to ordering. So it kind of depends on the client and the job and all these different things, but 80-20 is our go-to, and maybe 70-30. So if it's a $10,000 job that we know we're going to do in 2 weeks, I'm not going to have 3 or 4 payments. We're going to get 80% up front because we're going to order the parts. We're going to do all the configuring and do everything at our office, as much of it as we can, so that when we go on site to install, it's the shortest amount of time possible. And then when we're finished with the job, then we get that remaining 20.
Okay, so you do leave. I mean, that 20 is probably most of your profit. So
yeah, it just kind of depends, but yeah, we just want to make sure that we at least get paid for everything that we purchased and the work we did up until that point. If it's somebody, I mean, you're going to have clients that, they just are not good about paying their bills, and maybe you need to change that for that particular person. But otherwise, I mean, most of the time we get paid without any hassle. So.
Got it. What has changed at a high level in terms of the current climate with product shortages, equipment, all the different stresses around that, and then many vendors are raising prices, right? Have you seen that?
Yeah, we have. And in our terms, again, it says we will only change the price on something if the manufacturer changes it within that time. And but that's also why we do the deposit schedule the way we do. So the minute we get the money is the minute we order product. So whatever quote we gave somebody, that price should be exactly what it is. So we have to check our prices all the time because things are going up. But we've got a system designer who stays on top of all of that, and our CTO, and kind of between all of us, we're getting emails and whatever and sharing it. And but probably, I don't know. I guess I don't know how many jobs, but a lot of our jobs right now we're doing it in the next few weeks. So there's not going to be any kind of price change within that time frame.
I want to maybe we'll look at the first part of a project, the first engagement. Sure. You've met a prospect, and you guys are learning about each other. Your prospects learning about you guys and what's possible. Mm-hmm. You're learning about them and their project goals. Do you guys proceed from that meeting into collecting information and quote unquote designing a full proposal, or do you guys give clients approximate budgets and scopes, and with approval and maybe payment, move into a design phase? I always love talking to folks around the country how they handle this.
Yeah, and we may be different from some people, but we don't charge an upfront design fee. We spend a lot of time and money on the front end, and but we are very confident we're going to get the job. It's rare that we don't get a job. And we feel like that's mostly because of our personality and our just, our integrity. We just want to work with people and be honest with them and upfront with them. And so we will go have a meeting, figure out what they want to do. We'll come up with a list of recommendations. We give them a whole designed proposal. Sometimes we'll send 2 guys out to do some research, and then sometimes we just kind of assume we know most of it and see what they'll do, and then we'll change it after that. So,
Jaclyn, I jinxed us talking about good video.
I saw it went black.
Your camera has overheated.
Is that what it was? All right, give me a second, and I'll change the battery.
All right, cool.
I can still talk though. I've got maybe I don't know if you can hear me if I'm
Yeah, I hear you. I'm not gonna lie. I got a little distracted when I'd never had that message come across the screen, but it said overheat, and so that's a new one for me. I did jinx us. I was complimenting the video and the lighting quality to such an extent that the camera said, "All right, I'll show you." Well, if you're out there watching, actually, why don't you drop down into the comments and let me know if you guys are doing a summer vacation. That was the question that I led with when I started the show here. So tell me what you guys have planned. By the way, I'm going to give a few shout outs. Jessica says, welcome, Jaclyn. So thank you, Jessica. And Wes, loyal listener, says, hey, Jaclyn, welcome to Automation Unplugged. Enjoyed the episode with Donnie. Looking forward to this one. So I appreciate that, Wes. And ladies and gentlemen that are tuned in, we are having look at that. Mario did give us an answer. Mario, thank you, sir. Mario says he's RVing with the family. Where are you going to go, Mario?
We thought about doing that.
You got it. Yeah, I've never done that. Have you guys done an RV, Jaclyn?
I grew up camping, but have not done that with my own kids. I don't know if
I don't know. 3 kids and a husband and all that in a small RV. I think that sounds better be a big RV.
Yeah, we like our space. I don't know if that would work.
Mario, I know you're up in Canada. Where are you going to go, Mario?
Can you see that?
Do you have a destination? No, you're back.
Okay.
Live tech support. You see that, audience? Jaclyn did not break a sweat. She's like,
well, a little bit, but I think
a little bit of a sweat.
Just a little bit of panic, but
a little bit of panic. That's funny. Mario says he's let's see here. He says he's camping all over Quebec in a large RV,
wow.
not a small one. Smart man. Well, back to our topic of finances and this concept of you do a lot of the heavy lifting with your clients and you have a very high percentage close rate. That work that moves into that. And I'm gonna consider, and I think I'm remembering this from the conversation with Donnie. So correct me or maybe put it into perspective for our audience. You guys work not always, but in many of your client, you're in this referral network of families. Mm-hmm. And so you're almost like in this network of people referring. And so you're coming in very highly recommended or referred. Yeah. And I'm going to say versus the company that's listening that might be more talking to strangers.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we do have some random phone calls and we'll answer them and go deal with it. But we don't always know what to propose when we're not sure, like who, what their tolerance is for it. Somebody never had a smart home. They have no tolerance for what it costs. And so if we're getting a referral from somebody, usually they have an idea of what somebody else did in their house. And we do so many things, like we can do everything related to technology in your home that it can become like this massive deal. So we just have to really figure out what people want. But yeah, we go to a really big church and our kids go to the school that is through the church. And we've been working in all these same neighborhoods for, since 1980 that we even have a client we're working for this week. They were like, oh yeah, we did our first house with your uncle in like 85. And they're just going to keep coming back and coming back. But they know that they can trust us to be honest with them, give them a good deal, and get them what they want. So there's a lot of trust involved.
What are many nuggets of advice that you'd be willing to share regarding financial management, astute financial management of a small business, of an integration firm? And, so I'll just tee you up with that. Any words of wisdom?
If you're not good with your own personal money, you're not going to be good with your company money. And if you're not good with that, then you need to hire somebody who is, absolutely. Because you need to make sure that you have enough money in the bank before you start spending any money. You have to hire quality technicians to help you. Because if you don't have guys who can work hard and get the job done, you're going to lose money by sending out the wrong people who take too long. If you don't have somebody helping you design a job properly, or you don't spend the time designing it properly, then you're going to lose money that way too. So it's all kind of intertwined, but you have to have enough people on your staff to support you, and you have to have a really good service plan. Somebody has to be answering the phone, and you've got to be taking care of people. Because as long as you're taking care of them, even if it's for Comcast or their Apple TV, the stuff that you're not going to actually make money on in that moment, you will continue making money with these people because they know you and trust you. So it's always about building that relationship.
Can we go a little deper into service
Sure.
plans? Do you have
Yeah.
your own? I mean, does every customer come on board for some level of service or a service plan?
We have service plans. We just don't, not everybody signs up for one. And we don't care how they do it. It's basically, you can just hire us at will when you need service, or if you do a plan, you get a cheaper labor rate for that. And then it also includes remote management. So the bigger plans you do will even include after hours and weekends and that kind of stuff. And then we have a VIP plan that those are the big wigs who they want us to change light bulbs and just stuff that we shouldn't really have to do, but they just want us to take care of all of it. So that includes everything 100%, plus they get a discount if they do an upgrade. So it's a very wide range of stuff we do, but it's basically no plan. There's a basic plan, a premier plan, and the VIP plan. So lots of different options for people to pick.
Do you use industry partners for any of that work, either software or labor or phone support, or is this all internal?
Nope. It's all internal. We've looked at that. It just doesn't work for us on the personal touch. And that's our biggest stress. And people know us personally. They have our cell phone numbers and everything, and they want to know what I think about something or what Donnie thinks. And they're not calling some random person, because those people are not ever going to know the life that we have spent with these people. I mean, if we've spent 10 years working on the same house with the same older single woman, they're not going to know how to tell her what to look for. And maybe this works for some people. It just doesn't work for us. But what we did do to change that is we took Donnie's old cell phone number and turned it into a Google Voice number. And so that goes to several people in the company, because everybody likes to call Donnie. He's worked in all their houses and everybody just knows him. So they'll text that number, and now different guys will trade off on who is after hours. So doesn't have to be Donnie answering it at 8:00 at night. It can be somebody else. So that's helpful too.
I want to touch on our last kind of area here, and I want to go down this path because you and I actually have you have children. I have a child, and they're the similar age.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned that at your church, you actually do training for parents.
Through the school, yeah.
Through the school, okay. So through the school, and you help around parental control setups within networks. And I'm assuming, and maybe you could clarify, that also becomes a conversation on the AV or the CI side of the business, where you're doing these installs. And I mean, my goodness, what job doesn't include a network these days?
Right.
Can you kind of talk about how you're, helping people get educated around what's possible?
Yeah. We were sitting at a band concert one night. Our 12-year-old is the drummer for all of the 6th through 12th grade bands. There's this tiny little girl sitting up there on the drum set, and there's my dog. Can you hear that?
I hear the howl that you warned me about.
Yeah, there must be a cat outside.
That's amazing.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so the head of school walks over to us, and they 6th grade and up, they all have school laptops. Everybody younger has an iPad. And he said, "What do you do for your kids for parental controls?" He's like, "So many people are asking, and we don't know what to tell them." And I was like, "We could speak for an hour about that." And he's like, "Great, do that. Can you set that up?" We're like, "Oh, sure." So we can, because we talk about it all the time, but had to create an actual, a talk for an hour. And so we started with, they're your children. You're allowed to parent your children. You're not just allowed to, but you should parent them. You don't want to.
It's a verb.
Yes. Our oldest is 15, and she just got her driver's permit. And I wasn't like, "Here you go. Here are the keys. Go figure out how to drive." It was, 6 months of telling her what to look for while I'm driving. She had to take the training class online. She had to pass her permit. She had to go get, her actual permit from the DMV. Now she's in the car. We're like, okay, just let go of the brake. Don't hit the gas. Just let go. Let's make sure you can steer and turn a corner. And it's this constant teaching and doing the next step and the next step. She's learning proper etiquette in a vehicle. Well, the internet is keys to the entire world. You don't just hand your 12-year-old a phone and like, go figure it out. They have to learn what's the proper etiquette. What's dangerous? What as a kid, what should I tell you as the parent that somebody sent me or that I accidentally came across? Maybe there was an ad that looked funny and I should just tell you. There's just so many things that can go wrong with that. And you don't want to keep them from it completely so that when they're 18 and out of the house, then they have it. I mean, it's fine to give it to them when they're younger. They just need to know what's appropriate. And because we do networks and stuff, that's how part of this started. We used to use like Disney Circle and things like that and just didn't love it. But with the Wi-Fi networks that we provide, we do Arachnus. You can do content filtering, and we feel like that's the first layer of protection in your house. Everybody who's on the Wi-Fi gets this content filtering. Then each
what does the content filtering do, just for clarity?
You can block particular not
types of domains or types of words or types of
there's like a basic filtering, and then there's it's like just different layers. So even when we have the basic filtering, Donnie and I were looking up a margarita recipe and it blocked us from doing that. So we
no drinking in this house.
So it was just so it will block certain things but not everything. And you can do any kind of level within that. Then you can set each kid up with their own through Arachnus. You can do Oversee Home, which is an app as a homeowner, and you can manage all these things on your own and reboot the Wi-Fi and other things. But then each kid has their own account, not them, but that you can control. So like our oldest, we turn her Wi-Fi off at 10 p.m. The middle daughter, it's 9 p.m. The youngest, it's 8 p.m. And if it's during the middle of the day and I just want them to stop, playing on their phone, I can just pause their Wi-Fi and their phone shuts off.
I have a question.
Sure.
Would the phone not auto switch to using the cellular network for data?
Yes, but our younger two, our middle now has a regular phone, but the youngest is Wi-Fi only. So she doesn't have a phone. I mean, she has a phone, but it's not used like that. It's only on Wi-Fi. So all I have to do is pause the Wi-Fi. But the school laptop, they can't get up in the middle of the night and go use the laptop because their Wi-Fi is turned off. So that's just the first layer. And because you brought that up, that's the second layer. So using something like Apple Screen Time or Android, I think there's called Android Family, something like that. And you can set up screen time for each kid. So with Apple, you do family sharing, you set the kid up as a kid on your account, and then under screen time, you can set up time limits. That's where you can block particular websites or apps, or like after hours, our kids can only text our family members. They can't text their friends, and it'll show a little hourglass on their friend's name. But then they'll so if they're at a sleepover, they can text me, but they're not texting a bunch of other people. So that's the second layer of that, which is great that Apple will allow you to do all of that for free. It's just a matter of figuring out how to do it. And like yesterday, one of my daughters was home and doing some art app, and she wanted more time, and she was able to send me a request to my phone, and I could just approve for another hour. So there's some flexibility in that. And then the third layer of security would be monitoring. And we use a company called Bark. And we have a link that we can send to people if you want to post that later.
Yeah, we could put it in the show notes. That'd be great.
Yeah, that'll get you 3 months free just to try it. But they use an AI to monitor your kids' devices. And I mean, if they're sending 2,000 text messages to all these, group chats and everything, like who has time to read all of these? And what if they delete it? And, there's just too much to look at. So Bark will monitor certain apps. Not all apps allow it. Like Snapchat won't allow any kind of monitoring. But Instagram will, and several of the other ones. So it will, if there's like bullying or cussing or porn or whatever it is, it will send you an alert. Now, if there is something like sexual that shows up like that, it's a photo, they won't send you that photo. They'll just tell you who it came from.
They're not going to further distribute it. They're just going to warn you or flag that something's being shared on your child's device.
Yeah. So one of our guys, Chase, he has 2 little girls, and one of them took a picture of the other one in the bathtub, and then she deleted it. And so it sent him an alert and said that it was taken on this kid's phone at this time, and then it was deleted. So he had to go find it, and it wasn't a big deal. And she can only text her parents and grandparents anyway, but it just let him know. And for us, when we first set this up, the kids were in quarantine last year. It was like March. They were doing their online school. And our youngest hand wrote her spelling word and sent it to her teacher. And I got an alert for drugs. And I opened it up, and she took a picture of the word. It said edible. And it read her handwritten word and told me that there was like drug use. Yeah. So it's pretty good at what it can find. Yeah. But it just gives you an overall like idea of the things your kids are saying and doing without seeing every little thing. So they have the opportunity to have some privacy, but if they're crossing the line or somebody else's, you know about it.
It sounds like you've researched into this. I'd love to know your take on cyberbullying and how big of an issue is this, and how much is what you're describing here maybe part of the solution?
Oh yeah, we see it all the time. And there are a couple of documentaries that are good to watch, Childhood 2.0 and The Social Dilemma. They both get into all of that and the stats and how many kids are dealing with anxiety and depression. And I just feel like, when we were kids, we were able to deal with our bully face to face.
Did you have a bully?
Yeah, I was just going to say that when I was in first grade, there was a 4th grade girl, and I had to walk to school. It was like a mile maybe. And she would follow me home every day and pick on me and throw stuff at me. And I just couldn't take it anymore. And one day I turned around and I punched her and I spit in her eye, and I ran home and I got in trouble, but she never messed with me after that. Like she just left me alone. But now our kids are dealing with these keyboard warriors who are commenting on their Instagram posts and sending them DMs and texting them. And so the kids are living with this bully in their pocket 24/7. They never get to have a break from it. And not only that, but they're pulling it out and reliving their trauma over and over again. Did they really say that about me? Is this true? Am I stupid? Am I ugly? Like they're just going through and dealing with it. And it's like, no wonder they have so much anxiety now in this world. Plus, they just don't have a break from this constant distraction. If they could just put their phone down and be bored, that's how you learn how to be content. You got to have time to be bored as a kid. So that's how you learn how to be creative and learn how to play the guitar or paint or write stories or whatever it is, play a game. But if they're constantly on their phone, they just don't have the opportunity to do those kind of things. Obviously, there's some passion here.
No. So this morning, I do a morning walk. I try to walk every morning and get my exercise and get some me time. And this morning I listened to Simon Sinek's podcast. So I just pulled out my phone to get the proper name. It's called A Bit of Optimism with Simon Sinek. And he always has, valuable or interesting guests on. And so I listened to episode 35 this morning. Anyone that wants to, it looks like he published it on June 8th. And it was so fascinating that when you and I were pre-show talking about subjects, and I was like, this exact subject was what I was just listening to.
Yeah.
And it has to do with the idea that this generation, and maybe it's the last 10 years or so, or however long smartphones have been around, this generation of kids are getting that instant gratification, that dopamine hit of checking their device. I know in my son's case, it's YouTube.
Yeah.
He follows all these YouTube people. I know and approve of all of the ones I know that he follows. But yet there's just a constant feed. My son is not, he's 12. He's not yet on social media. I don't know. That's actually maybe a question I'll bounce back to you. When do you think it's right? But he's not there yet. But the idea is these children are being exposed to not only the instant gratification, the dopamine hit, that's a drug in the brain. It's clearly affecting them in some way. And then you were describing to me that, the current rate of depression and suicide and other problems, for this, I don't know if this is the millennials or the ones that are after the millennials.
I think it's after that.
After the millennials. I employ a lot of millennials. I'd like to think that.
I think I'm technically a millennial.
Are you a millennial? Oh my goodness. All right.
I'm a geriatric millennial as well.
You're a geriatric. All right. So it was the generation after. Let's just call it the newest kids. Like my son, he's 12. They're living in this world where my son has had an iPad in his hand since he was 6 months old.
Right.
And the safety issue and what they're being exposed to on the internet, what are the ramifications for us in society? I mean, it has to be profound.
Yeah. Yeah. You need to watch that Childhood 2.0. That was, I think you said you saw Social Dilemma.
I saw Social Dilemma. We watched it as a family. It was great. We all went to our devices, and I'm on lots of social platforms. I get to call it work because I need to be and figure out what's happening on Instagram and Facebook for One Firefly. But I did go in, and across all the apps on my phone, I removed all the notifications.
Yeah.
Because the Social Dilemma documentary educated me is that's all the science. They know what they're doing. They're trying to flag you. Hey, there's been an update. You better go check it.
Well, it's the creators of those notifications are the ones who did this documentary and don't allow their own children on social media. So what does that tell you? They didn't, and I don't think that they intentionally were malicious. I think they were just creating cool things and trying to make money or whatever else. And it just has become this monster that it doesn't have to be. Social media can be used for good, but
you use it for good for your business. I'd like to think we use it for good for our business.
Exactly. Yeah. But I for sure still get stuck. And I even have my own, I've got a 30-minute warning. So on screen time, if I've been on Instagram or Facebook for more than 30 minutes, it will send me an alert. And then I can, of course, approve it for the rest of the day. But at least I'm getting that, you just wasted 30 minutes of your life. Okay, if I didn't post something in that 30 minutes, then I need to post something and get out. But it's easy distractions.
Well, I commend you for your efforts with your school, with your church to educate around parental controls. And I know that I've learned a lot in the last few hours spending with you about the subject. All right, but we are at the time. The time is the time. How can our audience that wants to follow you guys or get in touch with you, what do you recommend?
Instagram is where we keep up with most of our social media stuff. That's at Jaclyn and Donnie, Jaclyn. Nobody ever spells that right, but it's like Jaclyn Smith. So at Jaclyn and Donnie. And then our website is mediasystems.com. So that has all of our contact info and all the things that we're up to.
Perfect. And we will put both of those links down in the show note. And Jaclyn, I want to thank you for being very gracious with your time and joining me here on show 175.
Well, thanks for having me. This was really fun.
Like I told you, an hour would go by in a blink.
It did, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jaclyn.
Thanks.
All right, folks, there you have it. We did go over the hour mark, but and we had a minor technical glitch. We'll listen to it, and we may cut out that the camera dying for the audio. So we'll just play that by ear. I'll talk to my audio engineer, Carlos. But for you watching the video here live or on replay, you get to see how Jaclyn and Ron handle pressure under fire, whatever you want to call it. When a camera dies mid-interview, you just keep a smile and you roll with it. And Mario, if you're still with me, I want to thank you for chatting with me during that period. Mario did give me an answer, by the way. He says he just got his second vaccine shot, and he's going to be RVing in the U.S. next year. So Mario, I look forward to that. And actually, he just gave us a little great interview. Ron, stay safe. Thank you, sir. Hope to see you at CEDIA here in September. So I'm going to sign off, folks. I'm going to give you my daily dose of reminder, which is if you don't follow One Firefly on Instagram, love you to do that. Just look us up at One Firefly LLC. And as well as the podcast. I know if you're watching this video on Facebook or LinkedIn, you're watching us live or on replay. But if you prefer audio on the go, I know I'm an avid podcast listener. I love it. I found the medium really about 5 years ago and haven't looked back since. So definitely go to your favorite podcast app and just look up Automation Unplugged. You can subscribe, and we're putting out shows pretty regularly, about one show a week. So definitely tune in there. And if you feel so compelled, leave us a review. We would love that. And on that note, I'm going to sign off. I will see you all next week. And be well. Have a great weekend. Thanks, everyone.